What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves. Hi, welcome to another great episode of the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony, and we have some amazing topics that we're going to discuss tonight. And we will not be joined by my co-host, Miss Ida B. She is currently under the weather, but we do have our producer, Marc Lee, in the house. So go ahead and come on out, Marc.
Glad to come on out. I must say that there was a major event that I know you were probably proud of. I was proud of, and all along those lines. So first off, I want to give a big shout out to the latest reigning queen in tennis, Coco Gauff, who definitely did not have any problem in terms of handling her business and winning that title at the U.S. Open, despite having some climate protesters that were interrupting the semifinals game. But then she was down in the first set and came back and handled her business and won that championship that apparently she had been dreaming about since she was a young kid, because I've seen some videos of her dancing around as a youngster when her dad would bring her to the U.S. Open and all in that space. So she has now won a title that she was dreaming about when she was a young kid and all along those lines. So,
yes. I'm super proud of her and super proud of, Black women stepping up and doing what they're supposed to do, because it's clearly evident that we get treated differently in every capacity. And it showed when she was playing in her tennis match against the foreign lady who was, taking forever when she served and, try to, drop crocodile tears as if she wasn't wrong. No, you were wrong. You were trying to throw her off her game, and you were trying to do what you could. Basically, you were basically cheating in broad daylight, and they didn't call you on your BS except for one time. But she pointed it out to the ref, and the ref is trying to explain to her about pace of game. She was like, the pace of game is fine, but you're not telling her anything. You're saying it to me. And she was like, she doesn't care what she does on her serve, but she cares what happens when she's serving. So, I mean, it just goes to show, it happened with Serena and Venus. It's happening with Coco. But it goes to show that it happens across the board in whatever field that we're in. We're always, having to dance to somebody else's beats and dance to somebody else's tune and things like that or whatever. And it's just crazy. I'm about to stream to the audience real quick.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy and everything. There was some people that were wondering if that was not a cheating move when she was sitting there claiming to be hurt and all along those lines, because she was clearly losing at that point, and she decided to take a medical time out in I think it was around the second or third set and all along those lines. So definitely there are folks that are talking about that. I don't know if you were following this, but I did see that there were some people that were, I guess, coming to her aid, meaning the woman that she was playing, the woman from Belarus, because apparently she threw a temper tantrum while she was in the dressing room and broke a racket and did some other things. And some folks are saying that Netflix might have been there and that might have been a staged appearance, and that maybe she really wasn't as mad as she was making out to be, because they were talking about how she was very polite and very respectful after she had lost and still had the number one ranking and everything. But then they were talking about how she had apparently thrown this racket and how folks were thinking that this could have been a publicity stunt.
Oh, I'm quite sure, because you already know that they're going to do what they got to do to, maintain, their reign and their supremacy and things like that or whatever. So it would not surprise me that if it was a publicity stunt, I wouldn't be shocked and I wouldn't be surprised. But, it just goes to show that, you're not as skilled as you think you are. A person who was skilled and outplayed you and, just outperformed you, just did what she came to do on the court, and that's just the bottom line. So I mean, it's no other way to just say it except for this is things that Black women go through, and this is things that we have to deal with on a daily basis. They can they can always be mediocre, but we can never be mediocre.
No, and one of the other interesting things that I saw in the article, I don't know what your thoughts about this, but and we still don't have enough ownership in terms of true management, senior management, even in the NFL. The NFL started its season this past Thursday, and it was playing on Sunday as well. But apparently, this is the most starting black quarterbacks that we have ever seen. Because I was reading an article about how I think it's like maybe 10 or 11 that are in the NFL as starters and all along those lines. So this is definitely the most that there have been, and the folks are basically showing how this shows that when we are given the opportunity and when the level field is when the playing field is leveled, we take advantage of that and all along those lines. So I just wondering your thoughts about that, and I'll find the exact number, but I know it was a more numbers of black quarterbacks this time around starting off the season than we've ever had in the past. But like I said, when I was reading the article, they were talking about the leveling of the playing field. I think it might have even been on Instagram, and they were showing the success that we were having in that position. Because when we're given a chance to shine, we definitely shine, whether it's on the tennis court or in the football realms as well.
Right, but the thing about it is, we may have the most starting quarterbacks, this season, but what about the coaches? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? We
That's
only
my
had
point.
like 1 to 2 coaches, and what about the owners? When we look at it systematically or whatever, the way that they have it set up is, the owners have to vote to see if you can buy into the team, and every other race has, a stake in the NFL except black people. And they continue to vote us out and continue to not allow us to have a seat at the table. So my thing with that is, why should you want to sit at their table? We should create our own league. We should create the black NFL, and we should have our own and support our own athletes, because primarily all the athletes in the NFL now are black anyway, like
Mhm.
it has been or whatever. So we should just go ahead and do like when we had the Negro League and other leagues and things that supported our own. That's what we should do, because we are a large consumer of supporting those teams and supporting their gear and things like that. So if we step out and branch out on our own, we will be able to make the money that is being made in the NFL at this present point in time. And you have enough black billionaires and millionaires to support and put this league together. So I'm all about doing our own. We don't have to have a seat at we don't have to have a seat at their table. We can create our own table.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Create our own table, do our own thing, and all along those lines, and in that space and everything. And like I said, I'm actually looking at a thing on, I think it's Wikipedia, and I'm counting something like 10 to 11, including Dax
Mhm.
Prescott, including Patrick Mahomes, including Lamar Jackson, including Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields, and Jordan Love, and a number of others, but I'm thinking that it's somewhere around the neighborhood of 10 or 11 that I'm literally counting right now. And that is a significant improvement. But like you said, we've actually need to have more ownership. And I wouldn't just leave it at the NFL. I would say that we probably need greater ownership on the entertainment realm as well, because we have some labels that are ours and some film studios that are ours, but I don't think that it is nearly enough, and particularly when it comes to our proportion within a society and everything. So we probably could own a lot more things that we don't own, not just in sports, but also in entertainment and even in some of the lesser known fields like education. Like I know some people that have some charter schools that are Afrocentric. There's actually one here, Durham Nativity, and there are a couple of other ones that I'm aware of, like St. Sia and things
Mhm.
in that space. So we probably could have some more ownership both on the education level, the technological level, and a number of other levels as well.
Well, I mean, I'm not real fond of, charter and things like that. And I'm not knocking charter schools, to each his own. Whatever you like is what you like. Me personally, I don't like charter schools, because if you look at charter schools and how they were formed and how they came to be, charter schools were a way for white people to bring their children into a place where black children were not allowed during, the integration. Once segregation was, abolished and things like that or whatever, so they could use public funds and public entities, to educate their children, and they didn't have to pay, the price to go into charter schools. I mean, into public schools. So that's a conversation that can be had. Some people are all down for it, but I prefer, public entities. The public entities, we have to do what what's right for the children. Charter schools, not necessarily, but they're governed under, a different set of rules than public education. Public education teachers have to be certified. Charter school teachers do not have to be certified. They can come out of high school and become a teacher over there, so to speak, or whatever. So I just tell people, even on the education side, just be cognizant of what you're getting your child into, and things like that. Everybody think private and charter is better, but really you really don't have the upper hand when it comes to your child in those capacities. you know a lot of times what happens with the charter schools allow your child to go there until they get the funding. When they get the funding, then they'll kick your child out if your child has problems that they cannot attend to, and things of that nature. So I tell people all the time, be careful what you sign up for, because at the end of the day, you can down public education, but 9 times out of 10 your child will end up back in public education, and we have to accept them, although they don't send the money with them, but we do have to accept them or whatever. So I mean, hands down, we need to have more of a role in education. But the thing about it is the community needs to step up. We work for the community. Your tax dollars pay our salaries. So I don't understand why people don't feel the need to voice their opinion and voice their thoughts at these school board meetings, and let it be known this is what we want. We have to give the people what they want, but 9 times out of 10 they don't show up, and they don't speak up, and they don't show out for their children and for the educational system. And then by the time they find out what's going on, it's already too late. It's voted and approved and amended, and things like that. So I mean, we can go back and forth
Well,
all
that
day
makes
about ownership and putting people in positions of representation. But at the same time, we as a community, we have to stand up and we have to do what we're supposed to
Well,
do.
speaking of representation, and I just found a video that I'm going to bring up, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. But apparently, there was a mayor of a town in Atlanta, first black mayor ever in Alabama. We know Alabama has some very negative history and all along those lines. But apparently, even though he was the first black mayor, he got locked out of his office and all in that space. So I want to bring this up and hear your thoughts around this and all in that space, because apparently he was the legitimately won mayor and got locked out because he's been locked out of his own city hall. So let's check this out.
Yeah, it's 10 minutes. Don't play the whole 10 minutes.
Election for office, and that person assumes the position once the votes are counted and certified. But New Bern, Alabama is a bit different. They haven't held elections for years. The position often handed down from father to son for multiple generations, until one man went against the norm. And he says it's led to him being blocked from his mayoral duties for years. Now the battle over who's really in charge is at the center of a federal lawsuit as tensions run high. Our Steve Osinsami has the tale of two mayors.
New Bern, Alabama is one of those small places in America where you'll find nearly a dozen churches to worship the Lord, but not a single grocery store. It's barely a mile long with about 200 people, an old cotton town where the history of slavery still lives deep in the soil. Even the cemeteries are still racially segregated. This is where white people are buried. And over here is the dirt road that takes you to a hill where the descendants of former slaves still bury their dead today.
I'm not trying to divide the town, just want to make the town better.
For the first time ever, a child of those black ancestors has become the city's mayor, hoping he can bring people together. But in a lawsuit he's filed in federal court, he says that some of his white neighbors have kept him from the job and locked him out of office. And he's seen here arguing with one of them outside the building, a city clerk who he and his black voters tried to persuade to their side but failed.
What you're doing is unjust.
No, it's not.
It is. It's absolutely unjust. It's unjust by this gentleman, and it's unjust by the people of this town.
Do you feel cheated?
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel discriminated against?
Yes.
What is it that you want to see happen?
I want to take my rightful seat, and I want to hold each and every one of them accountable for what they did.
56-year-old Patrick Braxton was born and raised here and became the city's first black mayor in 2020 when he quietly filed the paperwork at this county courthouse to run for the position. Up until that year, no one had ever officially put in for the job.
How many years has this place gone without an election?
I think they said about 60 something.
So then how was the mayor decided here?
Just hand it down, hand it down.
And let me guess, what was the race of this mayor in this town? What's it always been?
White.
Yeah, every single time.
Yes.
The mayor at the time was this man, Haywood Stokes III. His father, Haywood Stokes Jr., who died 10 years ago, was the mayor before. And in a response to the federal lawsuit, he and his lawyers admit that the town of New Bern has not held an election for years prior to decide who leads their city. But they deny that there's any racism or a conspiracy here to keep black people out of office. He and Patrick Braxton are both volunteers at the fire station on Main Street. They've known each other for more than a decade. So it was a shock to everyone when the legal deadline had passed to run for the job, and this time a black man, Patrick Braxton, had gone through the trouble of filing the proper paperwork and was the one and only candidate. Months later, he was seen here, being sworn into office by a state judge. And like previous mayors before him, he appointed his own city council, who put their hands on the Bible that same warm evening.
We was very excited. We had one meeting.
You did have a meeting in City
One,
Hall.
yes.
Oh.
We got a chance to come in, and
Try to get
try-
organized.
tried to organize, but,
Mhm.
that was it.
They say it felt good in a town where 85% of the residents are black to finally have a city council that looked more like the people they serve.
So you met the former mayor, Woody, after you were sworn in,
Yes.
and there didn't appear to be any problems?
No problem.
He said, here are the keys?
Yeah.
And that's it?
That's it. And walked off.
So now you have a meeting at City Hall. When did the doors get locked?
Well,
I
we
guess
don't
the
know.
next day, we don't know exactly when. I guess they knew we was there.
Can you imagine? It's a city hall. It's the town hall, and it's locked forever. It's been locked for 2 years now. Well, I feel that it's all about race. And I don't mind saying that. That's what it's about because I've lived here all my life.
According to their lawsuit, they're also locked out of the city's accounts at this bank on the other side of the county. Meanwhile, the black city council members say that the old city council continues to collect taxes, pay the lawn crews, and somehow conduct regular business.
Do you even know who's holding the meetings?
No.
And they must be holding it in a private home.
You may hang up or press 1 for more options.
We tried more than once to get the former mayor's side of the story, knocking on his door when it appeared he was home. He didn't answer. In court filings, Woody III explains his position, accusing Mayor Braxton of living outside the city limits, which would disqualify Braxton from being the mayor. And it is true that Mayor Braxton has more than one home, one that he uses as his city residence that he rents, and this one where he lives with his family outside the city. Here's where it gets more complicated. Mr. Woody Stokes is arguing that he gets to hold on to the job because of a special election he claims was held in October to vote on the new city council, weeks before the black city council was sworn in, where only the old city council members qualified to run, and because of that, kept their jobs. He says his old city council put him back in charge. But in his lawsuit, Mayor Braxton says that his side didn't even know that a special election was happening, and says that if it did, it was no good, saying that it took place in secret and that no notice of a special election was ever published.
Y'all just need to go on and leave us alone.
There's not a story here.
We went to the Mercantile Store, a small diner across the street from the town hall, a place that black residents say is ground zero for Mayor Braxton's opposition. We were told to leave the room.
You just need to go on and leave us alone. It's gonna be a black and white thing, and y'all know it.
If you're living and you're working here, someone can make your life living hell. It can really affect you, your family. You will be quiet.
On our walk with the mayor, the few white residents we met who support him were only comfortable telling us so off camera.
You see what I've been trying to tell you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he's talking about people being afraid and all of that. The story goes on a little bit further and everything, but that was a little bit about what's happening, and we definitely know that that can go on. I know that our partner in crime, Ida, has grown up in a small town. I've definitely grown up in small town, the USA as well. So we do know that that kind of racism does exist. I think I told you before that when
Mhm.
I was in high school, and that was back in the late 70s, we actually had three homecoming queens, one that was Native American, one that was European American, and one that was African American. And that wasn't that long ago. It was back in the late 70s and all in that space. And it may still be going on now as well. I'd have to double check and see if that is happening or not and everything. But
No,
yeah,
it's still happening in Mississippi or whatever. They still have two separate proms and homecomings and things like that or whatever. So I mean, it's no surprise there. I mean, come on now, it's Alabama. It's one of those for real red states and things like that. They're gonna do what they're gonna do to protect their interests and things like that. Although the majority of the people are black, you typically have that type of leadership and those people. Yeah, and I did say those people, and I meant, and I was very intentional when I said those people.
that's what you meant.
Um, doing things that that's inappropriate and things like that or whatever. I mean, and it was another place. I want to say it happened in Jackson, Mississippi. The whole town is black, but you have the whites who's a small majority who wants to be able to appoint whites as their the sheriff and the judge, which are elected positions. They want to be able to appoint them into those positions so that they can keep the upper hand in terms of who runs the area and who runs the towns. So this is no surprise here, and it's nothing there. So I'm not surprised. um
Yeah, I know you're not surprised, but I was going to bring up another video and a
mhm.
conversation I've been having with some friends of mine, and I definitely want to get to the TikTok one that you mentioned and everything. But some friends of mine have been talking about the youth that we have in our society and the lack of black fathers and all in that space. I know that there have been some folks even on this network that have said that this is a major issue that exists in our community and all along those lines. So I was just wondering what your take is on that, and then I might bring up this video of I think it's from the Washington Post of them talking about it. And it's a much shorter video. I think it's like 2 minutes and everything. But I just wonder
Okay.
your take on this whole notion of a lack of father figures out there and all in that space. I'd love to hear your thoughts around that because it is a conversation that I have friends regularly bring to my attention, and sometimes they are from fellow minority groups. Sometimes there are, of course, those folks that are Anglo and all in that kind of line. But what is your
Mhm.
take about this notion of our fathers are not stepping at the forefront in everything? Dr. Anthony?
So I thought you was gonna play the video and then I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
respond.
I'll play the video. I got to
Yeah,
get the
play the
video.
video and then I'll respond. I was waiting until you played the video. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no, no problem. And let me get the video lined up because that's what I was trying to do was get the video, and it was taking a minute to load up and all along those lines. So let's see if I can get it done more quickly than I was actually getting it done. So if you want to just give some intro thoughts of while I find the video downloader because it's not being as
Oh, not a
fast.
problem. I mean, I don't think it's a lack of fathers out there. I think when so we have to look at the history behind this. When white people started getting in black people business, saying that we can't discipline our children and things like that, our children start running amok. When they started saying that, we have to be friends with our children, they went so as far as to say, children in some places can call adults by their first names. They don't have to say Mr. They don't have to say Mrs. They don't have to say, basically the terms of endearment when you're respecting an adult. They're on the same playing field. So now that you have put them on the same playing field, you have put them out there to make them think that they're adults and they're responding in a way that's inappropriate. Now you want to blame it on the fathers, the lack of fathers. It's not the lack of fathers, it's what you have done to say that, we have lost control over our children. No, we didn't lose control over anything. You took our control away from us. You know what I'm saying? When you said that we can't spank our children. There's a difference between spanking your child and beating your child. You can discipline your child, but you don't want the children to be disciplined. You don't want the parents to say, X, Y, and Z. You don't want the children to receive any discipline in school. So now that you have placed them on the same playing field as an adult, what are you going to do with them? Now they're trying to place the blame back on lack of fathers, mothers, single parent household, things like that. But you have children that come from two parent households and are still hellions and still tear it up. So it's not necessarily the parents, but when these white psychologists got into the business of parents raising their children, that's where all hell broke loose, and that's where we lost our children.
No, and speaking of which, let's see what this expert had to say, and that's the video I was trying to get, and then we'll get to the one that may be real or may not be real out of Jamaica and everything. But let's check out
Let's
this
talk
video.
about parenting, and that was a really strong theme that continues to resonate with me. I have two fairly young boys. You're a new mom. There was a lot of conversation around parenting and masculinity, and a lot of the men opened up about the kind of fathers they want to be. From your perspective, uh, as a mom, what was it like to hear those conversations and to learn how some men essentially are trying to be better or at least different than their fathers?
It was really beautiful as a woman to be able to listen in on Black men having a very vulnerable dialogue about fatherhood and about the trying to figure out how to be a father when they didn't have that perfect father model in their own lives, and they admitted to mistakes that they've made, and some folks opened up about what they would have done differently. And then you have these younger men at the table who aren't yet fathers that are able to absorb that wisdom, and I imagine they will apply it and be better fathers, and they're just different fathers as a result. And I thought that was really beautiful. I think usually in the parenting conversation, moms dominate that conversation, and that wasn't the case at this table. We really heard from Black men about kind of the struggles of being vulnerable enough to show, to have empathy and compassion and um, gentleness in terms of their parenting. And for those who weren't able to access that, in those pivotal years, there was an acknowledgement of that. And I really hope that it led to some, again, to some breakthrough conversations with people in their own lives. And I hope the same for the viewers who are watching. I really think it's going to trigger some important conversations that need to be had that frankly don't happen enough in most families, but particularly in Black families.
What's your take on that? Do we need to have vulnerability, or are men not being vulnerable enough and all in that space? So, what is your take on that? Is one that is in the education lanes?
I mean, I just love how people try to, make it seem like Black fathers are absentee fathers and that they're not there for their children. We have fathers that are there for their children. We have fathers who are there doing what they're supposed to be doing. I get that there's some people who did not experience, the whole fatherhood with their father and things like that. But that's not everyone. That's not the bulk of the Black community. We have fathers who are fighting to be in their children's lives. We have fathers who are in their children's lives, but you let mass media tell it that Black fathers are absentee fathers and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yes, you may have some absentee fathers. Yes, you may have some fathers that are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But the mass majority of Black fathers, although some of them may not have a blueprint and didn't have a blueprint to follow, they are still doing what they're supposed to be doing. And one of the persons that I love the most in shows, his childhood, he surpassed his childhood with not his father being there, is LeBron James. You cannot ask for a better example than him being a Black father without having his father present and in and out of his mom's life and things like that. And he has stepped up to be a great husband, a great dad, a great father. So we we got to stop listening to the mass media about our men, our people, our fathers not doing what they're supposed to be doing, because they're out there, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're handling their business, they're taking care of their children. And we also have young men who are doing the same thing. We also have young men who are on social media and showing how, they're single fathers and they're raising their children and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. But I mean, when we talk about, the absentee of fathers, we also have to talk about the bullshit of the mothers. You know what I'm saying? We have to look at the mothers and what they're doing and what they have going on in terms of the fathers, because a lot of these mothers are not great mothers. Yes, they are single mothers, but they're not great mothers. You cannot call yourself a great mom if you're taking your child and you're using your child as a pawn and as a mechanism to get back at the father, because the father doesn't want to have anything to do with you, or you don't want anything to do with the father, and you're mad that he's moved on and into another relationship. So we have to look at it wholeheartedly. We just can't look at it from the standpoints of the men, because the men want to be in the lives of their children. They want to spend time with their children. But we also have to have that conversation about how women make it hard for men to be able to have those, opportunities to spend time with their children and to do those things.
So that makes a lot of sense. Today is a month that a lot of people had forgot about, and all in that space. I had actually not realized that until I was looking up things, and I know that you are an entrepreneur as well. But apparently, the month of September is Black Business Month, and all along those lines. So I'd love to hear your thoughts around that, because I did not realize that that was a thing until I saw that it was taking place at a station in California, and they were celebrating Black Business Month being this month of September and all. So I was just wondering your thoughts around Black Business Month and it being celebrated in the this particular time. And I've also seen that some people it's being labeled as August, so I guess it was between August and September. But definitely your thoughts around entrepreneurship and how we should be celebrating that and everything. Because, like I said, it is definitely in the fall time, and it is definitely something that folks are celebrating and all in that space, whether it was August or whether it is now in the September. But what is your thoughts around Black business and our supporting our Black businesses out there?
Well, I mean, I'm all down for Black businesses and, handling your business as a Black entrepreneur. Black women are leading in, opening businesses, leading in education, leading in, other, aspects. But, we got some bad ones out there as well. Although we're leading in those areas, we still have some bad ones out there. But just having the accolades that surrounding Black businesses, that's a plus, always a plus. We're always looking for Black businesses to support. We need to support our own, because when we support our own, we open opportunities inside of our communities. Whereas people come into our communities, but that money that they make from our communities don't support our communities. So we have to build our own tables, we have to create our own seats, and we have to create opportunities for our own children. Not that I'm really a fan of Ice Cube anymore, because the whole Trump situation, but he created opportunities for his son and people got mad. But this is what white people do all the time. They create opportunities for their children, and it's okay. But when a Black person create opportunities for their children, oh, it's a problem. But we have to create opportunities for our children. Our children shouldn't have to, you know, pull themselves up by the bootstraps and struggle if they don't have to. We have to put our children in better positions to become entrepreneurs, not just workers. They need to become the employer, not the employee. And we have to teach that from being very young. And so I commend the people who are putting out their businesses and sharing their legacy, just like Beyonce had her daughter out there dancing. She was earning money, she was getting paid. So we have to put our children in positions of power and positions of positivity so that they are able to understand how e-commerce works, how commerce works, and how money works. So we have to start teaching our children early. I mean, I didn't get it early. I had to learn through adulthood. I mean, I learned what my mom could teach me or whatever, but that's because of her lived experiences. But we have to do better about putting our children in those positions of success. And so with Black businesses and Black owned, everything, we're creating legacies and we're creating opportunities for our children to step up and become, what we want them to be. So
And
that's always a plus.
and speaking of that, and speaking along those same lines, one of the things that I was really admired about Coco was that Her dad was her coach, and she definitely has her family involved in a lot of different levels, and she definitely had a very diverse coaching staff and all in that space. So I was just wondering your thoughts about whether it was Coco, whether it is Michael Jackson and the Jackson family, or whether it is other folks, and you mentioned Beyonce, that are making it a point to make sure that they are including their family in their business development, because it definitely looks like Team Coco is definitely Team Golf in a lot of ways, meaning that it is a family affair, and I think it's been a family affair for a while and all along those lines. So I was just wondering your thoughts about the importance of making sure that your family is going on the ride, but not taking you on the ride, because we do know that there are some family members that will take you
Oh,
for
of course.
as well. But if they are going to come into the picture and be legitimate participants and bring some value to the participation, I think that that is something that should be given accolades. Now, I'm not saying to give accolades to those that want to rob you blind because they are family and all along those lines. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, Dr. Anthony.
No, but again, we have to put our children in positions of success. And his Coco's father put her in a position of success. They trained her from a child. You have to train them up from a child. So from day one, she was being trained about the U.S. Open. She experienced the U.S. Open. She saw Serena. She saw Venus. She saw these people, doing what she wanted to do. So she was taught. And at the end of the day, representation always matters. So we have to expose our children to certain aspects and certain parts of different avenues in life, so that our children can get that exposure, and so they can see people like us in those different positions, so that they know that I can do this, I can succeed, I can be that person. So I'm definitely team family. I tell anybody that my family made sacrifices for me to go to school, so I would definitely keep them in the loop as to what I have going on, and I would definitely support and things like that, and support them with what they have going on. But like you said, you do have some family members who want to take you for a ride, and I did have that happen with a half sibling or whatever. But that's another story for another day. But I am all big on supporting the family, and keeping it in house, and keeping the money where it needs to be. I mean, like I said, white families do this all the time. They have legacy positions where their children are taking over companies. So we have to set our children up for the same thing. We have to set our children up for success as well. Our children are not doesn't have to be an employee. Our children's are employers. So we have to set them up for success, and move them forward from being a worker bee to being in a person who's hiring, firing, and things like that. But you have to train them up young, and you have to start them out early, and teaching them the right way to do things. And like I said, white families do this for their children all the time. Black people, we're just now catching up, and we're starting to do this for our children. So we definitely need to do it, and we definitely need to keep it in the family. Because my thing is, if you have qualified people in your family to do the job, why go outside of the family and allow somebody else to come into the family and do something that a family member could have done if they're
No, I
qualified?
agree with you. No, I definitely agree with you on that. Speaking of team, family, and everything, and I'll be very interested to hear what you have to say about this. But one of the people that Coco Golf gave benefit to was actually a pioneer from another part of society and everything, and that was Billie Jean King, who was definitely one of those people that was about equal pay and all along those lines. So, as a woman, and I know that sometimes even teachers don't get equal pay from women to men and everything, but I just wondering your thoughts, because Coco Golf definitely, as she got that $1 million check or multi-million-dollar check, definitely thanked Billie Jean for being at the forefront of that fight to make sure that women were getting equal pay from the man and everything in that space. But I was wondering your thoughts about this notion of equal pay for equal work and all along those lines.
I mean, I do believe in, getting, your accolades and getting what's due. So yes, the payment is there. I just don't want people to misconstrue, that we're getting equal pay and equal opportunity for us trying to overstep and overtake, men positions, because I already know it's certain things that I cannot do, but it's certain things that I can do. But within my realm of what I'm doing, I deserve and I want that equal pay if my knowledge base is, as just as great as the next person. So yes, we deserve equal pay for what we put into our positions and what we're doing, and and she credited her because she fought for the equal rights and equal pay for the women, just like with the U.S. Soccer team. They won way more championships than the men's soccer team, the U.S. men's soccer team. But the U.S. men's soccer team received way more money than the U.S. women's soccer team. Although the U.S. women's soccer team has, all these trophies and, all these accolades and all this stuff. So it just happened in recent years that the U.S. women now are being paid what they should be paid, you know, from the jump.
I hear you. That raises another interesting conversation I heard, which is that folks are talking about how the rest of the world is catching up with us in basketball and all along those lines. And speaking of the rest of the world, because I know the USA, which is, I think it was their C team, lost in the World Games and everything. And I think Germany's playing against somebody, and we're not in the championship match, but we're also not playing with LeBron or any of our superstars. It's like the C team and all in that space. So we have to consider that as well, that we are not losing with our best players and everything. But I know you just recently came from a trip where you got to go in the different parts of the world. And I'm imagining you got to go to places like Jamaica and Bermuda and different other spots. I can't remember where that particular cruise was, but I know you've gone on various cruises. And apparently, this is the other story I was going to get to. And it's another video, but there was a woman that was hospitalized after being hit in the face with a brick. And apparently, it was over a dating thing and all along those situations. So I was just wondering your thoughts around that and if that was a true incident or if that was a fake incident. Because anytime these things happen, folks want to know if it's real or if it's a Memorex. And I'll play the video and folks can make a judgment for themselves and we'll hear your comments as well. So let's check out this video of the lady that was hit by the brick and what took place. So let's check it out.
Yo, this man just hit me in my face with a brick, and all these black men just watch, and they don't give a. Yeah, this man hit me, grabbed a rock, and he hit me in my face, because I would have given him my number. And all y'all just watch. Y'all see that? Y'all see that? What y'all gonna do? I want y'all to be a man. I want y'all to be a man. Do something. Y'all gonna let a man hit me in my face? What have I ever done to anybody in my life to deserve this? I never did anything in my life to hurt anybody. Literally, a man asked me for my number. I said no, and he picked up a brick in front of so many men and was like, "What you gonna do?" And I told all these men, like, "Yo, why this man got a brick on my face?" And he's holding a brick, and all these is watching, and nobody does nothing. And he hits me in my face, and then they all just watch, and they let that get in the car. How is this okay? This is what y'all doing to women? Like, don't understand. Like, I'm just trying to take my friend out from 5 years ago. Like, literally spending my whole money, not bothering nobody. Like, what the fuck kind of is this? I'm in the parking lot just trying to buy some food. And, like, I'm literally like, why is this busting up on me like this? And I'm looking at all these. They literally let this do all of this. They let like
the video and everything, but that's not the first time because I know that many people that study psychology remember the famous case, and it was actually, I believe, a white woman named Kitty Genovese, and she was literally being attacked and mauled there in New York City, a major thoroughfare, and there was a whole conversation. I think there have been psychological studies about how people have fear of getting involved, stepping into situations because they are afraid that they might be a victim just as much as the victim is a victim. And so I do know that that is a famous, I want to say, sociological and psychological case that has been studied by universities for decades and all in that space because it was, I want to say, right there around Times Square or around the subway or something like that. And literally there were hundreds, if not thousands of people that were witnessing it and could have stepped in, but then they were afraid to. And even we see that sometimes, Dr. Anthony, when people don't want to talk to our youth because they're afraid of the consequences of talking to our youth if you bring up their wearing their clothes loosely or their doing guns or they're doing stunts even with their motorcycles or scooters or a number of other things that you are afraid of the consequence both from your uh, folks that are participating in whatever the activity is as well as their family members. So a lot of people are walking around intimidated and don't want to speak out and all in that space. I was always taught to speak out, and my dad said spoke out as has my mom, but not everybody has that kind of bravado and that kind of bravery and everything. But I'd love to hear your thoughts because I do know that there are folks that literally want to speak out, but they are afraid of the consequences to speaking out.
I mean, just from a female standpoint, this is not the first time that something like this has happened. There was a female in Michigan who refused to give her number to a guy, and he ended up stabbing her to death on the metro and killing her. My thing is, it's not a female. It's not a female thing to what am I trying to say? Well, first of all, is these men have to learn how to check their feelings and deal with their trauma and deal with rejection. And I fought all these people because when you start getting into the psychology of things or whatever, and children not being told no and children not being disciplined, they grow up as an adult who are not disciplined, who are not used to the word no, and who are not used to rejection and things like that. And this is the end result of them not being disciplined and experienced rejection, because we learn through our mistakes. We learn through life experiences, and these people never received those life experiences. And I'm assuming that they never were rejected, and he could not handle the rejection from a female or whatever. And to be honest with you, I don't know if the video is fake. I'm not sure. I've been seeing some articles on social media and some platforms saying that they staged the whole thing. She wanted money or whatever. But her face was damaged. It was distorted. And, my thing is, it's never okay. I don't care how much you argue with the person. It's never okay to put your hands on anybody. It's never okay to pick up, a weapon and attack a person. I was at a store a couple of weeks ago, and this young man attacked this young lady just out of the blue, randomly attacked her and beat the shit out of her. And police were called, ambulance was called, because she was on the ground bleeding like it was no tomorrow. But it was an unprovoked attack. So my thing is, we have to check these men, we have to check these young boys, we have to check all these people about their emotions and what they got going on, because you just can't go around fighting and beating up people and getting yourself out there like that. That's just not cool. And for you to attack somebody because they did not want to give you their number, that says a lot about you, and it says a lot about your emotional instability and things like that. I mean, like, I have Google numbers. I have a Google number. So if a guy asks me for my number, I give out that number, and then they'll call it to see if you gave out the right number. And then when I get home, I block. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm in that situation where I'm being attacked because I refuse to give a guy my number. So we just have to do things to outsmart them, and do things to maneuver around them or whatever, because at the end of the day, you want to leave and you want to go home. And
No,
that's just
it's interesting you said that, Dr. Anthony, because I actually was checking out some different, at 61, I'll be perfectly honest, I'm very transparent, even with you and everything. And I have checked out some dating apps every once in a while. I was checking out one that was existing and all in that space. And one of the young ladies made it very clear that she did not want me to do what you just did. She said that she did not respect it. I guess if the guy gave their WhatsApp number or the Google number. And I'm like thinking to myself, what's good for the goose should be good for the gander as well. So I think that it can be guys that need to secure themselves as well. So I'm thinking to myself, because there might be times that I don't want to give out the home number and everything, but there are folks that are thinking that they are, I guess, being scammed the opposite direction, and they are saying that whatever you do, don't give me a Google number or a WhatsApp number, because then I'm not going to think that you are sincere and all in that space. So what do you say to folks that, from the women's perspective, that do the flip side? They don't want you to give them anything but your regular telephone number and your regular emails. They don't want you putting out Google or WhatsApp or some of the other ones that might be just as accessible, and maybe even in some cases more accessible, because I know some people that literally run their businesses off of their Google number and all in that space. But so that can be almost as much of a legitimate number as the actual legitimate number. But I was just taken back by that particular remark, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I mean, I don't have a problem with WhatsApp and things like that. And if a person does have a problem with the WhatsApp and the Google and things like that, then I'm just like, it is what it is. Then this is my number. If you don't want it, then you're not getting it or whatever. So again, even if I do give out my real number, they're blocked. The instance that I get home or whatever. And the same thing for women. Men have to protect their livelihoods and they have to protect themselves as well. I just feel like, I want to go home at the end of the day, and I don't want to be in no confrontation. I don't want to be in no, situation where, you feel like I gave you the wrong number and then you want to attack me, and I'm beat up in an unprovoked attack or whatever. So no, you can have the number, but when I get to the house, you're gonna be blocked. Your number is gonna be deleted. It's gonna be all of that stuff, because at the end of the day, I want to leave and I want to go home. My thing is with females, you have to be smart. Men are attacking women at this point. And so you don't want to get attacked, you don't want to get beat up, you don't want to be stabbed, you don't want to be killed, you want to make it home. If giving your number is the only way that you can get out of this situation, give your number, change your number, do all those things. Just be smart and then make it home.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You definitely got to be smart, got to be protecting yourself, and all
Yeah.
along those lines, and all in that space. I was going to bring up just some of the things that I've seen in BET News and everything, and see if you've got anything or thoughts around that. One of the things that I was seeing was that apparently social media is reacting to Queen Latifah singing the Star Spangled Banner and everything. So apparently, her recent rendition of the Star Spangled Banner left fans in awe, as it seems that many were unaware that the actress and rapper also has impressive singing abilities as well. So a lot of folks were surprised by her ability to sing and all along those lines. But I was just wondering your thoughts around that, because apparently that was a major conversation point where folks were surprised that she's not just a rapper and an actress. And I'm actually a fan of Equalizer, even though I've not seen a show in a while. And all in that space definitely was a big fan of the show, both the original version and the Queen Latifah version. But I was just wondering your thoughts when folks are now learning that Queen Latifah has a natural singing voice and actually might have some skills as a regular singer, and just not just as a hip hop artist. And nothing wrong with hip hop, because we know hip hop is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and rightfully so. But what is your thoughts when people are pleasantly surprised that our stars having skills that they didn't know they had?
Roll a clip.
Say what?
I said roll a clip. Are you gonna
Oh,
roll it?
I got to find the clip first thing. Let's
Oh,
see
you didn't
if I
find.
can find the
I
clip.
mean, she's always sang. So I'm like, I don't understand where the surprise is coming from, because she's always done, like music, and she's done some things where she sang, and I think she has some albums out where she has rap and she has like different songs or whatever. So I'm just like, are y'all just now becoming a Queen Latifah fan? Did y'all not know from way back in the day? Because she has always had a voice. She has always done these things. So I'm just like, I'm trying to figure out, where this is coming from. But yeah, she has a voice and she can rap and she can sing, and she's a great actress. So I don't understand where
Well,
the,
she's definitely a great actress, like I said.
oh my God is coming from or whatever, because it's always been there and she's always showcased her talent, in different areas and in different arenas. So I guess they're just now new to Queen Latifah, so to speak, or whatever. So I'm not sure.
They get, yeah, they're new to her. They don't understand the greatness of her voice and the abilities that she has, and all in that space. And apparently, was at a NFL game and all along those lines. So we, like I said earlier at the beginning, we do know that the NFL has started and all along those lines. So we'll actually get ready to play so that folks can hear her beautiful voice and all in that realm. So if you hold on one second, we'll let folks check her out doing her thing and doing it quite well. It's a short version, but it is still a powerful version. So we'll check out how Queen Latifah is singing at this particular rendition and all along those lines. So make sure I've got the volume going, and we'll check out Queen Latifah sing.
Roll a clip.
Hold on, bring it up and all in that space. So got to get ready to bring it up and then hit the play button and everything in that space. So hopefully things will work and the technology will cooperate. We got to love technology when technology is having its moments and all along those lines. So now they've got it. Let's hit the continue.
They're gonna play the song, or they just gonna show?
So yeah, they're just gonna show. It looks like let's see if we can find one where they're actually gonna have her singing the
Yeah,
song.
this one is just gonna show.
We'll find where we can actually singing and all of those. Let's see if I can get that other clip going, and we'll see if we can't find her actually singing instead of the clip of the conversation around her singing and everything. So I'm gonna see if we can't find the actual clip of her singing that song and all in that space and all in that way. Ah, that's look like the actual one. So let's see if we can actually get this rolling and everything. Ooh, always amazing things happening and all in that space. Were there any other entertainment news items that you were noticing on this particular day as we get ready to wrap down and wrap up and everything? But like I said, I would try to find the rendition of her doing her tremendous song and all along those lines. But were there any other entertainment things that you were recognizing that folks needed to hear about on this particular day and along those lines? And if so, what were they and all in that way?
No more entertainment things for today, but I will, send you some stuff that I want to discuss on the up and coming week for next Monday and things like that or whatever. Because we're always discussing race in America, and we're always going to take it back to race in America because everybody's like, "Oh, Dr. Anthony, you're so controversial. Why do you always make everything black and white? Everything is always black and white. It's always at the root of everything is race. Everything is stemmed around race. So is not that Dr. Anthony is just making this stuff up. I don't make this stuff up. This is what's out there. You can fact check Dr. Anthony all the time, but this is out there. It's on the internet. So we would definitely discuss more surrounding race in America and things of that nature. And we can also dig deeper into like parenting and the school system and these children that are out there, the shootings that are taking place, the crime that's happening from the children. So we can discuss all of that, and I would like to have a three-way discussion when our sister Ida is not under the weather and she comes back, and so she can give us her great insight, so it won't be just a Dr.
No doubt
Anthony.
about that. But we'll go
Mark,
out with the actual song and everything because I actually did find it, and it's
you
actually
did
the one
okay.
of her
Roll it.
performing and all along those lines. And this is the one that was existing. So I found this. So let's check out what Queen Latifah was doing and all in that space, and hear how beautiful her voice
Thank you.
is.
Please join me
in the singing of our national anthem. Grammy and Emmy Award winning and Oscar nominated musician, actress, and producer, New Jersey's own Queen Latifah, accompanied by the NYPD FDNY Joint Choir. Oh, see, can you see by the dawn's early light, so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming. Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in every groove through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of Yeah, you definitely rocked it and all along those lines. There's no doubt about that. So you definitely rocked it and all in that space. I was going to say that I think that was the Giants and Dallas game, and I wish I could tell you that it was a close game, but I don't know that the other team was all that prepared because I want to say it was a blowout, like 35-0, and I want to say it was Dallas beating the Giants and all in that space. So it wasn't even a close game whatsoever and all along those lines. So definitely, I wish I could say it was close, but it wasn't. But at least she did her job there and all in that space.
Yeah, she did. She did. Her version was good. You know, each person has their own rendition of how they sing the song and, you know, what they make it. So she made it her own and she did what she needed to do. But as I said before, I'm not for sure why the people are surprised by her vocals because they have always been there. She sang songs, she's rapped, you know, she's acted, she's done, you know, a lot of things or whatever. But, you know, she did good. She did good. Big ups to Queen Latifah. But you know, the clock on the wall says that that's all. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And I hate to rush off the show, but I have a meeting that I have to go to with one of my jobs, with the part-time job with mental health services. So we would definitely, you know, be back in the house on next Monday. Please make sure you tune in, click like and share, and you know, invite people to watch the show. Make sure you comment if you have any questions that you would like for me to answer, or you want to know about a certain topic that you would like for me to discuss and the team to discuss. You know, you can hit me up on Facebook. You can hit me up on here, and I'm also on YouTube, TikTok, and you know, other social media, Instagram, and all that good stuff. My other Instagram page was stolen, so I have a new Instagram. So it's beauty_brains_PGS. So make sure you check that out and make sure you hit us up. And like I said, the clock on the wall says that that's all. And hopefully next week we'll have everybody back in the house. Miss Ida is currently under the weather, so we're sending her well wishes and things like that. So we want to thank you guys again for tuning in, and deuces. That's it. I gotta go to another meeting, Mark.
No problem. Great conversation, and I'll catch up with you later. But that was a
Yes.
good and fun conversation. I think we hit a number of important points, but we're going to get out of
Definitely.
here. You've got meetings, and we'll be having this fun show on next week as well.
Next Monday. What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves.